Chapter 291, The Mythical Beast Phoenix? One punch is enough. The son of the Night King is dead. Ye Yongsheng looked at the strange phenomenon in the sky caused by the death of the Heavenly Lion, and his expression became a little dull for a while. In his eyes, which turned scarlet due to the fusion of the genes of the alien beast, he could clearly see a trace of fear of death. A descendant of a mythical creature fell in front of him. He could not have the position of Deputy State Lord today without the support of the Night King over the years. But even though he had received a lot of evolutionary resources from the Night King, he was unable to rescue the Night King's son, the Heavenly Lion, in time and could only watch the Heavenly Lion die in Lin Zichen's hands. No matter what the reason, he failed to protect the Heavenly Lion, and the Night King would definitely blame him afterwards. It's over. Everything is over. Ye Yongsheng was full of fear and didn't want to be blamed by the Night King. The fear didn't last long. Soon, his eyes lit up. No. There is still a chance. Capture Lin Zichen alive and hand him over to the Night King for disposal. In this way, I, who was seriously negligent in my duty, may still have a chance of survival. Yes, it can be remedied. With such an idea of making up for my mistakes. Ye Yongshen's eyes condensed, and he sacrificed all the blood and essence in his body, fully activating the various genes of the beasts in his body. The next second, his blood vessels bulged, his muscles expanded several times, and a pair of huge black wings broke out of his back, spreading out with the momentum of covering the sky and the sun, covering all the leaders in the city in a shadow. At the same time, his mouth was covered with tiny scarlet tentacles, and his ears became slender, resembling a huge human-shaped devil muscle bat. Then, a sound wave mixed with a huge amount of mental power was released from his mouth in an instant, and it kept echoing in the shadow covered by the black wings. Crack! 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 Under the impact of the sound wave, only a crisp burst sounded, and the air in the shadow was instantly covered with shocking cracks. These cracks spread like spider webs, and the cold and deadly breath continued to seep out from them. The city leaders in the shadows felt a splitting headache and were unconscious under this sound wave attack. The souls deep in their minds were all severely damaged by the sound waves. Like the surrounding air, it was covered with shocking spider web cracks. Among them, the leaders whose levels were lower than the legendary level lost their eyes and consciousness under this terrifying sound wave attack. Only a soulless corpse was left, falling freely in the air. Quick, sacrifice your blood and quickly improve your strength to withstand this wave of attacks. There was a city leader with a biological level as high as the first legendary level. While madly sacrificing his blood to temporarily improve his strength, he shouted to remind others around him. Hearing this shout, the city leaders who were still conscious all went out. Sacrificing their blood without regard for their lives. Temporarily greatly improve their strength. To resist Ye Yongshen's sound wave attack. With the continuous sacrifice of blood essence, their strength has increased exponentially. As their strength increases, they can gradually resist this sound wave attack. Kill this traitor. The city leader, whose biological level is as high as the 4th level of legend, led the team and led everyone to kill Ye Yongsheng above with the determination to fight to the death. Seeing this, the leaders of other cities immediately followed and killed him. A group of ants. Ye Yongsheng looked down at the people who were killing him from a high position, and muttered with extremely contempt. The moment he finished speaking, he fluttered the black wings behind him that covered the sky and the sun, summoning a large number of dark bloodthirsty demon bats from the shadows, rushing towards the people who were killing like a dense swarm of bees. In his eyes, except for the mythical creatures, other creatures are like rotten fish and shrimps, and are not worthy of fighting with him. On the other side, Lin Zichen, who was in the city, had already killed the aliens who invaded the city. Punch after punch, and kill a whole alien race. Swallowing a large amount of life essence to gain biological attributes. Swallowing a large amount of source power to convert into blood and spirit for his own use. During this period, he noticed that the legendary battlefield above had suddenly changed, and the aftermath of the two sides' bombardment was getting stronger and stronger, and his heart could not help but fall to the bottom of the valley. He was worried that if the battlefield expanded further, the creatures in the entire city would be affected by the death level. But after observing for a moment, he no longer had this unfounded worry. Because he found that the strength of both the leaders in the city and Ye Yongsheng was no longer growing. The aftermath of the fight between the two sides was no longer stronger. The impact on the city remained on the surface. It was difficult to affect the creatures in the city to death. Realizing this, Lin Zichen quickly put down his snacks and focused on killing the alien swallowers. He did not need the leaders in the city to kill Ye Yongsheng. He only hoped that they could delay for a certain period of time to kill a large number of alien swallowers for him. And consume Ye Yongsheng as much as possible. It is enough to do this. You have devoured a large amount of the life essence of the deep mountain tree monster and gained the biological attribute, vitality. Vitality, the vitality in your body has been greatly improved. You devoured a large amount of source power from the old monster in the deep mountains, and the source power was converted into blood and spirit. The strength of your blood and spirit has been greatly improved. You devoured a large amount of the life source of the silence black ants and obtained the biological attribute, rapid decay. Rapid decay, your attack will cause the target to enter the abnormal state of rapid decay. You devoured a large amount of source power from the silent black ants, and the source power was converted into blood and spirit. The strength of your blood and spirit has been greatly improved. You devoured a large amount of the life source of the thousand eyes demon spiders, and obtained the biological attribute, heaven and earth net. Heaven and earth net, you can eject silk fibers with the same toughness level as your own biological level from your fingertips. You devoured a large amount of source power from the thousand eyes demon spiders, and the source power was converted into blood and spirit. The strength of your blood and spirit has been greatly improved. Your biological level has successfully evolved from epic level 7 to epic level 8. Evolved. Lin Zichen looked at the last prompt message that flashed through the void, and his heart was suddenly excited. This alien race hasn't devoured much, at least it hasn't started to devour the legendary alien race, but the biological level has actually evolved. From this point of view, as long as most of the alien races in the city can be devoured, the biological level has a great chance to break the epic barrier and evolve to the first level of legend. Once it can really evolve to the first level of legend, the confidence in dealing with Yangsheng will be greatly improved. Thinking of this, Lin Zichen's feet suddenly exerted force, and the whole person instantly ejected like a spring, aiming directly at a legendary second-level phoenix above the beast group in front. It was a phoenix with a pitch-black body, and its body surface burned with terrifying black flames. When it hovered in the air, it was like a small sun, emitting a high temperature that could melt everything. At this time, this black phoenix was fighting with a group of strong men in the city. Under her powerful attack, the strong men in the city who surrounded her could not resist at all. Instantly, some died and some were injured. The situation collapsed at the speed of light. The biological level gap was too big. The Black Phoenix was a legendary second-level creature, and the so-called city strongmen who fought with her were almost all of epic level, and only the leader was at the legendary first level. With such strength, no matter how many there were, they could not compete with the Black Phoenix. As the saying goes, a higher rank can crush a person. The same is true for biological levels. Just one level higher can crush the opponent. Team, we can't win. The gap in strength is too great. If this continues, we will be wiped out sooner or later. An epic 9th level one-armed woman, enduring the severe pain of losing an arm, shouted to a man not far ahead in cold sweat. She was originally a person with healthy limbs, but just when she was fighting with the Black Phoenix, her right arm was unfortunately stained with the black flames on the surface of the Black Phoenix, and it was instantly burned into ashes and scattered in the wind. It is normal for strong men to break hands and feet when fighting. But the black flames on the surface of the Black Phoenix are filled with a lot of source power. The limbs burned by it will completely lose the ability to regenerate and cannot be recast with flesh and blood. There is no way to wipe out the whole team. We must hold back this Black Phoenix and not let her join the legendary battle above. The man said solemnly and firmly. The legendary battle he mentioned refers to the battle in which a group of city leaders surrounded Yangsheng. In that battle, the two sides are just evenly matched. For a while, it is difficult to see a clear trend of winning or losing. In such a evenly matched battle, once the Black Phoenix with a biological level as high as the second legendary level also participates, the balance of victory will completely fall to Yangsheng's side. At that time, the city will be completely broken and occupied by the alien race, and the biological channel inside will be completely lost, plunging the earth into a disaster full of despair. We only have one mission now, which is to hold back this Black Phoenix and prevent her from affecting the legendary battlefield above. Otherwise, once the legendary battle above is lost, the earth will face an unprecedented disaster. Many of us have families living on earth. In order to protect our families, we must go all out and not be afraid of death. The man saw that the morale was a little low, and he shouted to encourage them. There was a trace of blood and energy in his voice, which was used to quickly spread the sound and increase the volume of the sound. However, the people who heard the encouragement were still in low morale and could not muster the will to fight the Black Phoenix at all. On the other side, the Black Phoenix who heard the encouragement could not help but look down from above and said, "Ants who do not know their own strength." After she finished speaking, she instantly spread her huge wings, wanting to fan out a hot black flame to burn the ignorant earthlings below into ashes. Just as she was about to flap her wings and burn all the powerful earthlings who were besieging her. Buzz! A sharp sound of breaking through the air suddenly sounded from the side, making people's eardrums buzz. The Black Phoenix looked in the direction where the sound came from, and saw a figure wrapped in the power of blood and chi. She sensed it and found that the biological level of the person coming was only epic level 8. She immediately felt that her strength was insulted and became angry in an instant. Arrogant! A mere epic level ant actually dares to set his sights on me? Do you think I am the useless 8-winged celestial lion? The ignorant are fearless. Court death! With this anger and embarrassment, Black Phoenix once again spread its huge wings and suddenly swung a large amount of black flames towards Lin Zichen, who was coming to kill him. She was going to face Lin Zichen head-on, letting this epic ant who knew nothing about the world have a good feel for what it means to be a true legendary powerhouse. Boom boom boom. There was a terrifying roar. A large black flame swept towards Lin Zichen like a wave, turning into a huge fire beast on the way, tearing open a bloody mouth, trying to swallow the Lin Zichen who was rushing towards him into his mouth, and burn it into a pile of ashes. Facing the oncoming fire beast, Lin Zichen had no fear in his heart. With a thought, he gathered all the energy and blood in his body into his fist. Then, he punched out fiercely. The next moment, boom! There was a deafening explosion. The extremely oppressive fire beast was directly dispersed by an even more oppressive fist wind, turning into sparks that spread all over the sky, and then completely disappeared into the air. Seeing this scene, Dark Phoenix's slightly coquettish face was filled with horror. She, who regarded all things as ants, was frightened by Lin Zichen's terrifying punch and completely lost her will to fight. Will die. If you confront him head-on, you will definitely die. Escape. Dark Phoenix reacts extremely quickly. After seeing the terrifying power of Lin Zichen's punch, she chose to turn around and run away immediately, not daring to stay for a moment longer, and completely lost the idea of a head-on confrontation with Lin Zichen. She had seen what happened to Tianxi before. When I looked at it at the time, I just felt that Tianxi himself was inferior to others, that Tianxi was a disgrace to legends, and that Tianxi only had a good father to evolve into a legendary creature, and its strength was not legendary at all. Therefore, it is completely normal for a genius to leapfrog and force him to kill him. However, judging from the punch Lin Zichen just punched, she realized something. The reason why Tianxi was raped and killed by Lin Zichen. It's not that Tianxi is too weak. But Lin Zichen was too strong. On the surface, this earthling is only at the epic level, but his true strength far exceeds the epic level. He is an extremely terrifying existence. Buzz. Dark Phoenix escapes extremely fast. Along with the sound of breaking through the air, in just the blink of an eye, she flew dozens of miles away at high speed, completely away from the city. She had no confidence that she could defeat Lin Zichen. But if she just wanted to escape, she felt that Lin Zichen couldn't keep her at all. Inside the city. Seeing how decisively Black Phoenix escaped, the powerful men in the city who had just surrounded and suppressed her were all shocked. They couldn't believe what they were seeing. A Black Phoenix with a biological level as high as the legendary second level was actually scared away by Lin Zichen? What's going on? What's going on with Lin Zichen? It had only been less than 2 years since he entered the origin. He had already evolved to the rare level at the speed of light, which was unprecedented, which shocked everyone in the city. Not long after this, he suddenly evolved to the legendary level and was able to scare a legendary second-level phoenix into fleeing. How could it be so outrageous? This is not evolutionary at all. P.S. Set the bowls, please recommend monthly tickets. End of chapter. Chapter 292 The Son of the Abyss is born. Want to escape? How can a duck in the mouth fly away? Lin Zichen ignored the surprised eyes of the people below. When he saw the Black Phoenix suddenly turn around and run away, he immediately burst out his mental power, and his body instantly turned into a stream of light and chased after it. Ahead. The Black Phoenix, who was fleeing at a high speed, felt fortunate. Fortunately, he fled decisively. He did not stay to fight head-on. Otherwise, he would have ended up like Tianxi at this moment. What's wrong with that earthling? There is no alien gene in his body. He is not very old. Why can he burst out with such strong combat power? The most outrageous thing is that he can still kill legendary creatures with his epic body, and they are legendary creatures of the origin who are naturally stronger than earthlings. How can he do this? The Black Phoenix was puzzled. Lin Zichen's performance just now has completely exceeded her cognition for many years. She had lived in the source for so long and had seen countless evolutionary geniuses who had amazed the strong from all sides, but this was the first time she had seen such an evolutionary genius that violated common sense. Although he was only 20 years old, his biological level had reached the epic level, and his real strength was even comparable to that of a legendary creature. Such an existence was simply made up, and there was no authenticity at all. However, such an outrageous existence had just appeared in front of her. This made her feel like she was dreaming. Boom! Suddenly, a huge noise came from the direction of the central region. The earth was shaking. The air was broken into countless tiny cracks visible to the naked eye. A mythical war broke out in the central region, causing the sky to collapse and the earth to split, and the huge movement spread to the south region from time to time. The Black Phoenix looked in the direction of the loud noise, and his eyes fell on a towering tree in the central region, with awe and confusion in his eyes. The awe was that the towering tree was the wood god. The confusion was that the wood god had actually revived in advance. Why did the wood god revive early? What happened? Will the fire god also revive early? The Black Phoenix looked at the towering tree far away in the central region, thinking in her heart. Just as she was thinking about these things. Buzz. An extremely harsh sound of breaking through the air suddenly sounded from behind her. The air nearby was shaken to a riot. The roar continued. The Black Phoenix, who heard the movement behind her, suddenly changed her face, and a large look of fear quickly covered her charming face like a creeper. How is it possible? How could he catch up? My flying speed is one of the few among all the creatures of the same level in the source. What is going on? Buzz. 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 As the sound of breaking through the air got closer and closer, Lin Zichen, who was just 10 miles away, was instantly less than a kilometer away from the Black Phoenix. Such a short distance was enough for him to kill the target with one punch. However, in order to ensure a one-hit kill, he did not choose to attack at this time. Instead, he continued to fly at high speed, constantly closing the distance between himself and the Black Phoenix. 900 meters. 800 meters. 700 meters. 600 meters. 500 meters. When the distance between the two sides was only 500 meters, Lin Zichen began to mobilize the blood and qi in his body, and quickly gathered it on his right fist. In an instant, a vast blood and qi force spread out from his right fist in the form of strands. Wherever it passed, the air boiled. The Black Phoenix, who was fleeing at a high speed in front, was frightened and turned pale on the spot after feeling this vast blood and qi. The strength of this blood and qi force was too high. Far beyond the second level of legend. She was only at the second level of legend, and she thought her body was still good, but she could not withstand such a strong blood and qi force. She could foresee that if she was hit by Lin Zichen's punch, she would be like the Tian Qi before, with her body blown into a large blood mist, and her mental power wiped out into nothingness, and her soul completely perished. Thinking of this, she did not dare to hesitate for a moment and decisively chose to give up resistance. She knew she could not escape. She simply stopped. She transformed into a beautiful woman in black palace clothes. Her face was beautiful, with a hint of enchantment. Her figure was graceful, and the semicircular curves of her upper and lower bodies were extremely full, tempting to commit a crime. Spare my life. I am willing to be your slave girl. You can do whatever you want. The Black Phoenix transformed into a beautiful woman turned around and shouted at Lin Zichen who was chasing her. Her voice was extremely sincere. While shouting, she did not forget to straighten her proud upper body and tried to seduce Lin Zichen. She is a noble Black Phoenix, with the blood of the god of fire, and her status is naturally high. Many legendary high-level creatures, even mythical creatures, have favored her. She thought that if she was willing to become a female slave of an earthling, no earthling would refuse. Now, in order to survive, she must endure hardships and humiliation. When the god of fire revives, her strength will improve by leaps and bounds. Then she can return the favor tenfold. Just when the Black Phoenix was thinking so confidently. Buzz. Lin Zichen rushed to the front of the Black Phoenix with a sharp sound of breaking through the air, raised his fist full of blood and energy, and punched her human body fiercely. The Black Phoenix was horrified. She didn't expect Lin Zichen to be so ruthless that he would kill even a beautiful phoenix girl like her. Boom. Soon, there was a loud noise. The second-level Black Phoenix was directly blasted into a ball of scarlet blood mist by Lin Zichen's punch. There was no chance to recast flesh and blood. Died on the spot. Until the moment before death, the Black Phoenix still couldn't figure out why an epic earthling could kill the creatures of the source land by leaps and bounds. Is this reasonable? Above the city, Ye Yongsheng was still fighting with a group of desperate city leaders, and huge noises continued to be heard from the bombardment between the two sides. The whole land below was shaking. The surrounding air was shaken to burst into a lot of cracks. Suddenly, boom! A terrifying loud noise suddenly came from the dangerous area dozens of miles away from the city. Ye Yongsheng and the leaders in the city were startled by the sudden loud noise, and they all turned their heads to look in the direction of the loud noise. Then they saw a large amount of rich blood and qi burst out from the dangerous area, and a legendary strongman fell in the sky above the dangerous area. Seeing the strange phenomenon in the sky above the dangerous area, both Ye Yongsheng and the leaders in the city thought of the Black Phoenix falling. Like the fallen Tianqi before, it died tragically in Lin Zichen's hands. These strong men in the sky above the city behind dispersed their mental power to perceive and found that it was indeed as they thought, the Black Phoenix fell. Died in Lin Zichen's hands. No bones were left. Only a scarlet blood mist remained. That was a legendary second-level Black Phoenix with a trace of the blood of the god of fire. It actually died in Lin Zichen's hands. What on earth is going on? Ye Yongsheng quietly looked at the dangerous area dozens of miles away, with 3 parts of doubt in life, 3 parts of confusion, and 4 parts of fear on his face. Lin Zichen's strength is too incredible. Ye Yongsheng suspected that there was some unknown inheritance behind Lin Zichen, and behind him stood an ancient existence with strength comparable to the 5 elements god. Otherwise, there is really no way to explain the amazing combat power displayed by Lin Zichen. Opposite. The leaders in the city were also shocked, and they all looked at the strange scene in the dangerous area at the same time, their eyes full of disbelief. They knew that Lin Zichen was an unprecedented evolutionary genius. As leaders in the city, they have always paid close attention to Lin Zichen, the unprecedented evolutionary genius, and they know his performance in the city very well. Less than a year after entering the source, he evolved into a rare creature, easily crushing an entire team of alien geniuses. Even the instructor Lan Tianbei was not his opponent. Moreover, he also has many incredible special abilities. He can control plants. He can escape underground. He can completely restrain his vitality, etc. In terms of biological abilities, he is stronger than the gene fusion. If the gene fusion wants to obtain various powerful biological special abilities, he must bear the risk of alienation. As a pure-blooded human, Lin Zichen does not need to fuse the genes of alien beasts at all, and he can have multiple special abilities like the gene fusion. Lin Zichen, who did all this before, was already a world-shaking evolutionary genius who broke everyone's cognition and alarmed many old monsters. However, the strength shown by Lin Zichen today is far beyond the above performance. Killing epic creatures is as simple as crushing ants, without any effort. Killing the legendary first level 8-winged sky lion and the legendary second level black phoenix is also a face-to-face encounter. Such strength can actually appear in an earthling who is still a college student. This is simply unbelievable and puzzling. This Lin Zichen. I'm afraid he has some unknown powerful ancient heritage. The leaders in the city thought the same as Ye Yongsheng. They all thought of the same explanation for Lin Zichen's strength. Except for this explanation, they can't find a more reasonable explanation than this. In this world, there has never been strength without reason, nor genius without reason. Any genius, if traced back to the source, can find a trace of mysterious blood from ancient times. The power of Tianxi comes from the blood of his father, the Night King. The power of the Black Phoenix comes from the blood of his ancestor, the God of Fire. The power of the Sea God comes from the gift of his master, the God of Water. Based on the above rules, Lin Zichen can be so powerful at a young age, which must be inseparable from the support of some ancient heritage. Ye Yongsheng, the leaders in the city, and other strong men present all agreed. Above the central region, countless vines soared into the sky and occupied the entire sky. A large amount of highly toxic pollen diffused in the air. The dense branches and leaves blocked out the sun, plunging the entire central region into a cold shadow. Being in it, from time to time, you can hear the sound of the void being torn apart by vines. Qi Qingmo, Poseidon, Su Maiziao, Li Lao, Xian Yuan Wanyu, Sima Xian, these 6 mythical strong men, are now trapped in this shadow and unable to escape. They were usually invincible, but now under the powerful and intensive attacks of the Wood God, they were suppressed throughout the whole process and were unable to fight back. The Wood God's rank has surpassed the mythical level. The 6 people whose biological level is only mythical level have no chance of winning even if they join forces to resist with all their strength. No, if this continues, all of us will perish here. Su Maiziao frowned her slender eyebrows, and said with an extremely solemn expression, we must find a way to escape, and we can no longer resist in vain. Upon hearing this, Xian Yuan Wanyu said in a cold voice without mercy, everyone knows the truth, but the question is how do we escape from this shadow? When she said this, her tone was extremely impatient. Because she knew that Su Maiziao was a multifaceted person, she felt sincerely disgusted with Su Maiziao, this unruly fox girl. Especially when she learned that the 2 companions around her had been seduced by Su Maiziao and became Su Maiziao's secret lovers, her disgust for Su Maiziao became even more profound. Boom! Suddenly, a huge movement came from the sky above the southern territory. All the creatures in the shadow looked towards the sky over the southern region. Among them, Qi Qingmo, who was a pure-blood human, was the first to sense the power of qi and blood emanating from there. Subscribe to Chinese novel audio wave. Very familiar feeling. It was the power of qi and blood that I had often absorbed before. It is the power of Lin Zichen's qi and blood. What's going on? How could his energy and blood be so strong? Qi Qingmo, who clearly sensed the high level of Lin Zichen's qi and blood strength, couldn't help but frown and felt very confused. She knew that Lin Zichen was very strong and his talent for evolution was astounding throughout the ages. However, no matter how high the evolutionary talent is, it is impossible to evolve to the point where it can kill legendary creatures in such a short period of time. What's going on with this little guy? Qi Qingmo was very curious about this and eager to know the answer. Just when she was curious, the Wood God, who transformed into a giant tree reaching the sky, looked far away in the direction of the South Territory and murmured to himself, the Son of the Abyss has also been born. Over the Southern Territory, Lin Zichen, who successfully killed the Black Phoenix, gathered all the blood mist around him in his hand with a thought, turning it into a rich blood ball floating quietly. He glanced at the thick mass of Black Phoenix essence and blood in his hand, feeling the vast vitality inside, and a wave of thoughts arose in his heart. The Black Phoenix just now turned into a woman and used a honey trap. There really is no one left. I complained about this. Soon, Lin Zichen had a thought, devour. The moment the thought fell, a large amount of text prompt information emerged from the void. You have swallowed a large amount of the life source of the Black Breath Demonic Phoenix and gained biological attributes, rebirth from the ashes. Rebirth from the ashes, in a flame environment, you can be resurrected infinitely. You have swallowed a large amount of source power from the Black Breath Demon Phoenix, and the source power is converted into qi, blood, and spirit. Your qi, blood, and mental strength have been greatly improved. Your creature level has successfully evolved from epic level 8 to epic level 9. Evolved again. The 9th level of epic. We are only one step away from the legendary first level. Lin Zichen looked at the last reminder message flashing in the void, and felt a burst of excitement in his heart. As long as he evolves one more level to the legendary first level, with the blessing of various biological attributes and the assistance of many city leaders, he has a certain degree of confidence that he can deal with the traitor Ye Yongsheng. P.S. Set the bowls, please recommend monthly tickets. End of chapter. Chapter 293 Instant Kill of the 8-Armed Demonic Ape. The whole audience was shocked. After calming down a little, Lin Zichen focused on the biological attributes he had just obtained. Rebirth from the ashes, in a flame environment, you can be resurrected infinitely. Can you be resurrected indefinitely in a fire environment? It just so happens that I have fire breath, a creature attribute that can set fire. When I fight Ye Yongsheng later, I have to set fire to the surrounding area. Turn the battlefield into a world of flames and make it my home field. Some didn't think about this for a while. Soon, Lin Zichen flashed and returned to the city as quickly as possible. There are still a large number of aliens waiting for him to devour and absorb them. He cannot waste a moment in absorbing the corpses of aliens to strengthen his own strength. The journey of dozens of miles is just a blink of an eye for him. Eyes closed and opened. The next second, others appeared above the city. At this time, in the sky above the city, Ye Yongsheng was still fighting fiercely with the leaders in the city. The two sides were fighting so hard that they were evenly matched, and it was difficult to tell the winner for a while. Inside the city, there was a chaotic battle. The Earth side and the Source side are constantly confronting each other, and the sounds of fighting and screams are endless. The overall battle situation is that the Earth side is at a disadvantage. The reason is that at the same level, the physical strength of Earthlings is far inferior to that of aliens. Buzz. Only a burst of sound was heard. After observing the battle situation, Lin Zichen immediately burst out with all his blood and energy, and his body turned into a stream of red light, shooting towards the city below like a missile, aiming directly at a central location in the city. There, he saw Lan Tianbei leading a group of alien-level geniuses to deal with a demon ape, and then being beaten by the demon ape until he was unable to fight back. In the city, Luo Qingxiu, Zhao Qingxian, Zhang Tao and many other alien-level geniuses, under the leadership of instructor Lan Tianbei, tried their best to besiege an 8-armed demon ape with a biological level as high as the 9th level of Dzogchen. Although there were many alien-level geniuses involved in the siege of the 8-armed demon ape, as many as 16 people. However, the 8-armed demon ape's physical body was too strong, and he had the appearance of a physical saint. He managed to withstand the full attack of this group of alien-level geniuses without any injuries. The whole process was like a bull with a rough head and thick flesh, running rampant among this group of alien-level geniuses. Many alien-level geniuses were unable to dodge and were seriously injured on the spot, completely losing their combat effectiveness. There were two creatures with lower levels, unable to dodge at all. They were hit by a head-on collision and exploded into a ball of blood mist on the spot, leaving them permanently on the battlefield. Qingxiu, hurry up, freeze it. Seeing the 8-armed demon ape rushing over at high speed like a truck, Lan Tianbei, as the commander, immediately yelled this to Luo Qingxiu in a hurry. Luo Qingxiu did not respond vocally, but silently exploded her mental power, emitting a large expanse of crystal-clear light blue ice mist, trying her best to freeze the 8-armed demon ape that was sprinting over at high speed in front of her. In an instant, a large expanse of extremely cold ice mist swept towards the 8-armed demon ape like a hurricane. Wherever the ice mist passed, it was instantly covered with ice, and hailstones poured down from the sky, hitting the ground with a crisp crackling sound. Soon, the 8-armed demon ape sprinting at high speed collided with the sweeping ice mist. Under the erosion of ice fog. Just the blink of an eye. The huge 8-armed demon ape was covered with thick layers of ice, turning it into an ice sculpture that could not move. Just when everyone heaved a sigh of relief. Crack! 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 There was a crisp sound of a hard object breaking. The next second, the ice layer covering the 8-armed demon ape exploded like broken glass and ejected in all directions at extremely high speed. Several alien-level geniuses who were very close had no time to react and dodge. Their bodies were penetrated directly by the sharp ice cubes that were shot at them, and a shocking wound was opened, with blood continuously pouring out. Kyungsu, freeze again! Seeing that the 8-armed demon ape was about to break free from the shackles of the ice, Lan Tianbei immediately shouted to Luo Kyungsu again. Luo Kyungsu remained silent as always, silently bursting out her mental power to once again generate an 8-armed demon ape frozen in extremely cold ice mist. However, just as a wisp of ice mist was generated, Luo Kyungsu felt dizzy and her consciousness was a little blurry. Then the generation of ice mist failed, and the movement of the 8-armed demon ape could not be restricted like just now. During the fierce battle with the 8-armed demon ape, she was too exhausted. The mental power in the body is almost at its bottom, and it can no longer generate large swaths of ice mist in a short period of time. It takes some time to recover. Lan Tianbei noticed that Luo Kyungsu was overdrafting, but he didn't care too much and just shouted to her. Kyungsu, quickly sacrifice your blood and essence to strengthen your remaining spiritual power and completely freeze the 8-armed demon ape. After shouting this to Luo Kyungsu, Lan Tianbei immediately shouted to the others. Others are also quick. Quickly sacrifice the essence and blood in your body to increase your strength. Don't be afraid of the damage potential. Although sacrificing blood essence will damage potential and destroy an evolutionary genius. But in the current situation, no matter how good the damage potential is, you still have to bite the bullet and sacrifice your essence and blood to improve your strength. Otherwise, everyone in the team will die at the hands of the 8-armed demon ape that is about to break the seal. Zhao Qingxian, Zhang Tao, Fu Zhou, Wu Xia and other alien-level geniuses hesitated for a moment when they heard this, and then they gritted their teeth and sacrificed the essence and blood in their bodies, sacrificing their evolutionary potential in exchange for a temporary significant increase in strength. A living genius is called a genius. The dead genius is worthless. When others were ruthlessly sacrificing their essence and blood. On the other side, Luo Kyungsu was in a dilemma. Evolutionary talent is one of her most proud strengths. She also wanted to evolve into an epic creature, a legendary creature, or even an unattainable mythical creature. She didn't want to sacrifice her evolutionary talent in vain just to deal with the 8-armed demon ape. Just as she was struggling with this point. Roar! The 8-armed demon ape completely broke free from the shackles of the ice layer. It first roared to the sky, and then immediately opened its bloodshot scarlet eyes and looked at Luo Kyungsu in front of it with violence. Then, there was a bang. The 8-armed demon ape kicked hard, and the next moment its huge body soared into the air, and bounced towards Luo Kyungsu in front of it at a speed that was difficult to see with the naked eye. It knew that it was just bound by the ice layer, and it was Luo Kyungsu who did it. Knowing this alien who could freeze its body, it is the most threatening enemy to it so far. Now, it wants to get rid of Luo Kyungsu first and eliminate the possible threats later. Get out of the way! Lan Tianbei shouted loudly at Luo Kyungsu while rushing towards the 8-armed demon ape to stop it from rushing towards Luo Kyungsu. Luo Kyungsu reacted quickly after hearing the voice and stepped back to the side with force. At the same time, she thought about it and burst out the remaining mental power in her body, generating a small piece of ice mist that swept towards the 8-armed demon ape. With such a small amount of ice mist, she didn't expect to restrain the 8-armed demon ape. She just hoped to delay the movement of the 8-armed demon ape a little. Then, Lan Tianbei, who had sacrificed his blood and had greatly improved his strength, could cause considerable damage to the 8-armed demon ape. Boom! Soon, a deafening sound of the bombardment rang out. Lan Tianbei waved the machete in his hand, and instantly poured the rich blood and chi power attached to it into the body of the 8-armed demon ape whose momentum was slowed down by the frost. The next moment, the 8-armed demon ape bled from all 7 orifices, and most of the blood vessels on its body ruptured, spurting out hot blood. The blood fell to the ground, making a dense sizzling sound, and instantly melted the sparse sand and gravel. Crack! Crack! Suddenly, countless tiny cracks appeared on the blade of the machete in Lan Tianbei's hand. Then it broke into pieces in an instant. It turned into a large number of tiny fragments and fell to the ground. There was a series of clattering sounds. In the collision with the 8-armed demon ape's body, this machete made of special A-grade alloy was directly shattered into a shadowless knife, leaving only a broken handle in the hand. And the hand holding the handle was also shattered, and a sharp pain instantly swept the owner of the hand. Damn it! Lan Tianbei endured the severe pain from his hand, and his whole face changed slightly. He never expected that the body of the 8-armed demon ape could be so strong that it could actually shatter a machete made of a special A-grade alloy. The next second. Bang! A deafening crash sounded. Before Lan Tianbei could react to what happened, a fist bigger than a human was hit on his face, and the whole person flew backwards in an instant. Then, with a bang, he crashed into a broken city wall, knocking the entire wall down. His entire face was sunken, and blood was overflowing on it. The whole person completely lost consciousness and was on the verge of death. Buzz! A sound of breaking through the air sounded. The 8-armed demon ape flashed and killed Lan Tianbei who had lost consciousness, wanting to give him the final blow. Seeing this, the alien-level geniuses present burst into blood and rushed over, not caring about their own safety, and only thinking about saving Lan Tianbei. As one of the team members, Luo Qingxiu could no longer be entangled. She no longer hesitated, gnashing her teeth, ready to sacrifice her blood essence to strengthen her mental power, generate a stronger ice mist to freeze the 8-armed demon ape, and save the seriously injured and unconscious Lan Tianbei. Just as she thought about sacrificing all the blood essence in her body that could be sacrificed. Buzz. A huge air-breaking sound that made the eardrums of all creatures buzz suddenly sounded from the sky above the city. At this moment, almost all creatures looked up and followed the sound of breaking the air. Luo Qingxiu, who was about to sacrifice most of her blood essence to strengthen her mental power, also looked up freely towards the sky where the sound of breaking the air came from. The next second, the scene that came into her eyes was a red stream of light in the sky, shooting towards her direction at a high speed, or more accurately, shooting towards the 8-armed demon ape sprinting in front of her at high speed. It was just a blink of an eye. Boom! The red stream of light had already fallen heavily to the ground, hitting the 8-armed demon ape sprinting at high speed on the ground. At the moment of impact, the whole land was shaking violently. The powerful impact force caused dust to fly all over the ground. The center of the impact was blocked by a large area of thick smoke and dust, and nothing could be seen. The only thing that the creatures present could sense was that the dust was emitting a powerful and frightening blood force. Soon, the dust drifted away. A familiar figure gradually came into the eyes of all the creatures present. It was Lin Zichen who had killed the heavenly lion in an instant in the sky before. At this time, Lin Zichen was standing silently in a circular deep pit full of cracks with his head down. Under his feet lay a headless, 8-armed corpse. 8 arms. This is the body of the 8-armed demon ape. This 8-armed demon ape, which had wreaked havoc on the entire team of alien-level geniuses during its lifetime, had its huge head crushed open and turned into a pool of blood that flowed to the ground. Under the gaze of a group of extraordinary geniuses, Lin Zichen lifted the foot that was on the 8-armed demon ape's head and slowly moved it to the position where the 8-armed demon ape's body was. Then, he stepped down hard. Boom! Only a deafening stamping sound was heard. The ground that was already cracked suddenly cracked into large, even more shocking cracks. The corpse of the 8-armed demon ape on the crack was directly trampled and exploded into a ball of blood mist, with a strong smell of blood filling the surrounding air. Suddenly, this mass of salty blood mist that continued to spread and fade, seemed to be affected by some invisible force, and quickly gathered in the same direction. Luo Qingxiu, Zhao Qingxian, Zhang Tao, and all the other geniuses present were all staring intently at the wisps of blood mist. Seeing the blood mist with my own eyes, it seemed as if it possessed spiritual intelligence. It flew towards Lin Zichen's hand and quickly gathered into a majestic blood ball, floating quietly in Lin Zichen's hand. What method is this? What is Lin Zichen going to do? The alien-level geniuses present were all confused and did not understand what Lin Zichen was doing. Lin Zichen didn't pay attention to these people's doubts, and silently thought in his mind, devour. You have swallowed a large amount of the life source of the 8-armed demon ape and gained biological attributes, rough skin and thick flesh. Rough skin and thick flesh, your physical strength is greatly improved. You have absorbed a large amount of source power from the 8-armed demon ape, and the source power is converted into qi, blood, and spirit. Your qi, blood, and mental strength have been slightly improved. Is it just a small improvement? It seems that the rare and powerful 9th-level Dzogchen beings that were out of reach last year are now not enough for me to squeeze between my teeth. Lin Zichen felt a sigh of relief in his heart. After sighing with emotion, he exerted force under his feet, flashed forward in an instant, and rushed forward at extremely high speed. In front of him, there was a large group of aliens with extremely strong energy, blood, and source of energy. He wanted to kill that large group of alien races as quickly as possible, devour their corpses, and absorb their life source and source power for his own use. The moment he rushed forward, the faces of the alien-level geniuses behind him were all dazed, and it felt very unreal. More than a year ago, Lin Zichen was still in the alien team with them and was a newcomer in the team. At that time, although Lin Zichen had shown extremely terrifying strength and evolutionary talent, it was not exaggerated to the point that it was unattainable. But now, just over a year later, Lin Zichen has already been able to kill legendary creatures. He can easily crush an 8-armed demon ape that an entire alien team can't handle, like trampling to death an entire alien-level team. Like an ant, he simply stepped on it and exploded. Such strength is no longer on the same level as them. Not even the same species. At least none of the former Inhuman-level genius teammates present at this moment thought that they were of the same species as Lin Zichen, who was able to kill legendary creatures at the age of 20. P.S. Set the bowls, please recommend monthly tickets. End of chapter. Chapter 294, Proving the Dao to the legendary level. Deputy State Lord Ye Yongsheng is about to die. In the city, at the center of the ground battlefield, a huge rock snake, relying on its body as huge as a mountain and indestructible, madly ravaged the surrounding earth warriors. The biological level of this rock snake was as high as the epic 9th level, and it was only one step away from evolving into a legendary creature. In this largest city stronghold on Earth, it only needs to swing its huge body to destroy everything along the way, with extremely strong destructive power. In the center of the battlefield, many Earth warriors died in its death swing. Crushed into a pool of salty meat paste. Constantly eroded by the source power attached to it. There is no possibility of recasting flesh and blood. Retreat. Retreat quickly. Don't force it. An epic 9th level Earth warrior, while trying his best to block the rock snake's tail sweep, shouted to the other Earth warriors around him who were fighting the rock snake with him. The rock snake's biological level is too high, and it is also known for its defensive power. Those with a lower biological level than it can hardly cause effective damage to it. In this case, it is meaningless to encircle it. The best choice at the moment is to quickly get away from this indestructible monster and not to confront it head-on to avoid unnecessary losses. As for the immovable buildings in the city, they can only be swept and destroyed by the huge body of the rock snake. It turned into a pile of dilapidated ruins. It became a ruin. But it doesn't matter. A war of such a scale broke out. The city must be undefendable. The buildings that should collapse will collapse. As long as people are not dead, it's fine. However, if a rock snake with a biological level as high as the epic 9th level is determined to kill people, people with a biological level lower than it can't escape at all. But in a moment, a large number of slow people were swept down by the rock snake's tail. The body was crushed into a pool of salty meat by the heavy stone snake tail, and remained on the battlefield forever, becoming a wisp of residual soul that died with eyes open. Those with an epic level or above are not allowed to retreat. Come back and stop this rock snake from advancing. The epic 9th level Earth warrior who had just asked everyone to evacuate quickly saw a large number of compatriots with lower biological levels being caught up and crushed into a pool of meat by the rock snake, and his blood and chi burst out and shouted this sentence. As soon as he finished speaking, he turned around and killed back, setting an example and being the first to risk his life to stop the rock snake behind from killing his compatriots. Following his example, many epic level Earth warriors soon followed and killed back. These Earth warriors did not hesitate at all, and sacrificed their blood and chi in their bodies, temporarily greatly improving their strength to fight against the powerful and arrogant rock snake. Although sacrificing the blood and chi in their bodies would greatly damage their evolutionary potential. However, in order to save more people, these epic level Earth warriors did not care about sacrificing their evolutionary potential. Everything has an extreme duality. Since there are traitors who sacrifice the interests of the human race in exchange for evolutionary resources, there will also be heroes who are willing to sacrifice their own interests to complete their own interests. Bang! A loud noise was heard. The next second, a figure flew backwards from the front at a high speed, fell to the ground with a bang, and kicked up dust all over the sky. A moment later, the dust dispersed. A deep pit full of cracks appeared on the ground. In the center of the deep pit, there was a man covered in blood and dying. Looking closely, it was the Earth strongman who had just led the way to kill the rock snake and whose biological level was as high as the epic 9th level. He belonged to the second echelon of combat power in the city. He was defeated by the rock snake in just one encounter, lying on the ground half dead, and completely lost his combat power. Bang! 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 Soon, a series of the same sounds rang out. Several figures flew backwards from the front, and fell heavily to the ground with several loud bangs. They exploded into a ball of blood and seeped into the ground, and died completely. The creatures of these people who fell were only of the low epic level, and they could not withstand the full force of the rock snake with full source power. It can't be stopped at all. Retreat. Don't make unnecessary sacrifices. Seeing that the people in front were killed instantly by the rock snake, the people behind decisively chose to retreat and not die in vain. I don't know what ability the rock snake has activated. The whole body is shining with deep blue light. The snake head is divided into 8. It has become an 8-headed snake. After that, the biological attributes such as strength, speed, and defense have been greatly improved. Just an ordinary attack has severely damaged the epic 9th level Earth powerhouse. He didn't even give him a chance to deal with it. When those epic Earth powerhouses retreated, the 8-headed rock snake suddenly stopped chasing, stood up straight on the ground, and aimed its 8 ferocious snake heads at those epic level Earth powerhouses. Boom! 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 The roar of the engine was heard. A dazzling deep blue light shone from the mouths of the 8 snake heads. As the light became more and more dazzling, the next second, 8 terrifying energy beams gushed out from the mouths of the snake heads, aiming directly at those retreating epic level Earth powerhouses. Wherever it passed, any matter would be instantly evaporated, and even the air would be annihilated into nothingness. 2 epic level Earth warriors were unfortunately hit head-on by the energy beam and were annihilated into nothingness on the spot, without even a trace of blood and chi left. 1 epic level Earth warrior had his right arm hit by the energy beam, and half of his flesh and blood evaporated instantly. He could not heal himself or repair himself, and became a one-armed man with lifelong disability. The remaining epic level Earth warriors who were lucky enough to escape the disaster were all scared, their bodies trembled uncontrollably, and they felt fear from the bottom of their hearts. With an epic biological level, they were a high-ranking leader in the city and a domineering overlord on Earth. However, at this moment, they were on this battlefield, facing the alien warriors who invaded the city, but they were as weak as ants and died with a pinch. The gap was too big, making them feel deeply powerless and unable to have the courage to resist. Boom! 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 The familiar roar of the engine sounded again. The eight-headed rock snake began a new round of energy accumulation, and was about to release energy beams to attack the remaining epic-level Earth powerhouses. Seeing the 8 snake heads with deep blue light in their mouths, the remaining epic-level Earth powerhouses all showed despair, and their hearts were filled with fear. Just as the energy beam was about to burst out, and many epic-level Earth powerhouses were waiting to die. Buzz! A sound of breaking through the air suddenly sounded. The next second, a red stream of light passed by the 8-headed rock snake, and the 8 huge snake heads instantly fell off their necks, and fell heavily to the ground with several bangs. Before the creatures present could react to what happened. Boom! A deafening collision sounded. At the moment the sound sounded, the creatures present saw a slender young figure suddenly appear in front of the headless rock snake and hover, raising his right fist and punching the headless rock snake at the 7-inch position. Then, the headless rock snake exploded instantly, turning into a large piece of dark blue mist mixed with a hint of scarlet, which quickly spread in the air. Is it Lin Zichen? When they saw that it was Lin Zichen who killed the 8-headed rock snake with one punch, all the epic-level Earth powerhouses who survived the disaster were slightly stunned, and their faces were full of illusions that everything in front of them was unreal. In their hearts, Lin Zichen has always been a newcomer who has just entered the source to train. His evolutionary talent is unprecedented. The future is promising. Subscribe to Chinese Novel Audio Wave. It only takes a certain amount of time to develop, and he will become a top powerhouse on the Earth side in the future. But the scene before them broke their cognition of evolutionary genius. Lin Zichen does not need to train at all, does not need to evolve and develop, and he has transformed into a top powerhouse on the Earth side after not seeing him for a while. Just a simple punch can turn a rock snake that is infinitely close to a legendary creature into a mist and completely fall. The strength was so strong that it broke the cognition of all the creatures present. Lin Zichen noticed the shocked eyes around him. But he ignored it. He just raised his hand to absorb all the surrounding mist into his hand, condensing it into a dark blue water ball with a trace of red lines, and then he thought, swallow. You swallowed a large amount of the life source of the Yakitsu rock snake and obtained the biological attribute, indestructible. Indestructible, the defense of your body has been greatly enhanced. You swallowed a large amount of source power from the Yakitsu rock snake, and the source power was transformed into blood and spirit. Your blood and spirit strength have been greatly improved. Is it only improved this much? An epic 9th level great perfection alien can bring me very little improvement. Lin Zichen felt the improvement of blood and spirit strength in his body, and saw that the improvement was a bit different from the improvement when he swallowed the legendary alien corpse before. He couldn't help but shook his head and sighed in his heart. In fact, the improvement was not less at all, it was just that his appetite became bigger. After devouring the legendary alien race, he could no longer feel the pleasure of devouring the epic alien race. After calming down a little, Lin Zichen quickly flew to the other side of the battlefield under the gaze of many epic Earth masters. There were a large number of alien races waiting for him to harvest and devour. On the other side, Shen Qinghan was using her superb water control ability to save the dying and the wounded on the battlefield, saving the lives of many Earth compatriots. During this period, she was doing two things at once. While treating the wounded, most of her attention was on Lin Zichen in the distance, always paying attention to Lin Zichen's movements. When she saw Lin Zichen killing all the alien races along the way like cutting melons and vegetables, and then devouring and absorbing them for his own use, she seemed to see Qi King Mo's figure. Lin Ziyi is becoming more and more like the pavilion master. Shen Qinghan looked at Lin Zichen from a distance, and couldn't help muttering. In the distance, Lin Zichen felt Shen Qinghan's gaze. But he didn't pay much attention to it. He just focused on killing the aliens. No matter if they were rare, epic, or legendary. He killed them all with one punch. Exploded into a blood mist and swallowed them all. Used for his own benefit. As more and more source power was absorbed, Lin Zichen could clearly feel that the strength of his blood and spirit had reached a critical point. It seems that he is trying to break through to the legendary level and evolve his physical body to the legendary level. Sensing this, Lin Zichen felt slightly excited. Right now, you can evolve into a legendary creature in no time. Lin Zichen didn't stay excited for long. Soon, he dodged and rushed into a group of beasts on the side, killing them inside and devouring source power crazily. I don't know how long it took to swallow. Just as he was devouring the corpse of a strange beast with a biological level as high as the legendary first level, a text message slowly appeared in the void. Your biological level has successfully evolved from epic 9th level to legendary first level. The moment the prompt message appeared, Lin Zichen's whole mind seemed to be bombarded, and he felt abnormal pain, unbearable pain, and chaos. Fortunately, this discomfort was fleeting. Instead, Lin Zichen felt that his body was full of strength, his blood strength and mental strength were at the peak of his life, and his whole person was completely transformed. At the same time, a shocking vision occurred in the sky above the city. A slender young figure was projected high into the sky. Under the gaze of many creatures below, countless rays of golden light appeared out of thin air, shining with dazzling light, and all poured into the slender young figure, becoming part of the young figure. Then, the slender young man's figure reflected thousands of rays of light, illuminating the entire city below. Then, like a burned-out candle, it suddenly dimmed and gradually disappeared from the eyes of the creatures below. The vision in the sky disappeared, but all the creatures present who witnessed the vision still had a look of shock on their faces, and their eyes were full of disbelief. The proof is legendary. Lin Zichen actually became a legendary creature. How did he do it? Simply incredible. Unbelievable. At this moment, all the creatures who witnessed Lin Zichen's evolution into a legendary creature felt puzzled and couldn't believe it was true. Because this is so outrageous. A young man who had just turned 20 years old actually evolved into a legendary creature. This directly breaks the understanding of evolution of all living creatures present. Make these creatures doubt life. Start thinking critically for yourself. Take a look at the evolutionary path you have taken over the years and see if there are any crucial but relatively hidden areas that have been overlooked. On the legendary battlefield above the city, Ye Yongsheng is fighting with the leaders in the city. The two sides are fighting back and forth, and it is difficult to determine the winner. It seems that it will last for a long time. Just when both sides were tacitly agreeing to fight like this, suddenly, a strange phenomenon appeared in the sky above their heads, a strange phenomenon that would only be caused when a creature successfully proves to be a legendary powerhouse. The moment he saw the vision, Ye Yongshen's expression changed slightly. Then, he immediately sent a trace of his mental power to Lin Zichen to see if Lin Zichen's biological level had really evolved to the legendary first level. After carefully sensing it 3 times, it was confirmed that Lin Zichen had successfully evolved into a legendary creature. Ye Yongsheng was anxious. There is no longer the calm look on his face. Some are just afraid of Lin Zichen's high evolutionary talent. This kid is growing up too fast. Don't stay. Thinking of this, Ye Yongshen's eyes narrowed and he frantically sacrificed the essence and blood in his body. He wanted to greatly improve his strength, get rid of the entanglements of the strong men in the city around him, and then nip the huge threat of Lin Zichen in the cradle as quickly as possible. P.S. Set the bowls, please recommend monthly tickets. End of chapter. Chapter 295 The war is about to begin. A life and death battle with Deputy Governor Ye Yongsheng. With the continuous sacrifice of blood essence, the degree of change on Ye Yongshen's body became more and more serious. In an instant, he changed from a half-human and half-beast form to a complete beast. His pupils were scarlet and bloodshot. He had wings on his back and his surface was covered with flesh thorns. There were 2 huge sharp horns on his head, and the power of blood and chi kept flowing. His muscles were bulging high and full of explosive power. His huge and sturdy body was like a 10,000-meter-high mountain that could not be seen in front of the city leaders who besieged him, which was extremely oppressive. Boom! There was only a terrifying explosion. Ye Yongsheng, who had completely turned into a beast, suddenly burst out with a strong pressure from his body, shaking the surrounding air like broken glass. The city leaders who besieged him were all blown away by this pressure. They all bled from all 7 orifices and were seriously injured. A few of the weaker ones were directly shaken to the point of turmoil and lost consciousness on the spot. Buzz. After dealing with the flies around him, Ye Yongsheng rushed towards Lin Zichen in a flash. His speed was so fast that it made a sharp sound of breaking through the air and tore out countless shocking void cracks. After transforming into a strange beast, his strength increased significantly and was directly promoted to the 9th level of legend. He was only 1 step away from the supreme mythical creature. It takes an unimaginable price to improve one's biological level so much in a short period of time. The biggest price is that the body transformed into a strange beast will not be able to change back to human form. However, this is not a problem for Ye Yongsheng at all. He has been stationed here in the source for so many years, and has entered countless ancient and mysterious ruins, from which he has obtained a large number of rare treasures. Among these rare treasures, there is a dark mysterious bead that allows one's own consciousness to invade the consciousness of another creature, thereby occupying the magpie's nest. In layman's terms, it is taking over the body. Now, after being stuck at the legendary level for countless years and having reached the end of his evolutionary path, he wants to seize Lin Zichen's body full of miracles and use Lin Zichen's body to prove the mythical creature. In this way, he can not only reopen the evolutionary path that has been blocked, but also get rid of the control of the aliens. He can become the Deputy State Lord and evolve into a powerful person of the high legendary level, which is inseparable from the support of the aliens. And if he wants to get the support of the aliens, he has to sell himself to the aliens. Now, his body is filled with insurance from the aliens. As long as he dares to be disloyal, the aliens can easily take his life at any time. Quick, stop him. Stop this traitor who is worse than pigs and dogs. Don't let him get close to Lin Zichen. Seeing Ye Yongsheng, who turned into an alien beast, flying towards Lin Zichen at a high speed, a white-haired and white-bearded city leader immediately shouted to remind his colleagues around him. When the voice fell, his whole body was full of blood and qi, and he sacrificed his blood and essence crazily, chasing Ye Yongsheng in front of him at the fastest speed to stop the treacherous deputy city lord from approaching Lin Zichen. His biological level was not as good as Ye Yongsheng, but with the powerful flying beast gene in his body, he flew in front of Ye Yongsheng in the blink of an eye and blocked Ye Yongsheng's way. Don't overestimate your ability. Seeing the white-haired old man who came to stop him, Ye Yongsheng's eyes were full of disdain. The white-haired old man heard the words without any fluctuations in his heart. He was very self-aware and knew that he could not stop Ye Yongsheng from approaching Lin Zichen with his own strength. However, it was just that the normal method could not stop him. If an abnormal method was used, there was still a chance to successfully stop him. Master Yeshu, I am different from you. I will not sell out my people for my own benefit, but I will sell myself for the benefit of my people. The white-haired old man said this calmly, and all the blood and spirit in his body were exhausted, turning into a full energy that continued to expand in his body. Feeling the expanding energy in the white-haired old man's body, Ye Yongsheng's face changed and he cursed. Your mother's lunatic. The moment the curse fell, the white-haired old man in front of Ye Yongsheng, his old body began to swell like a balloon, and countless cracks with red light began to crack on his body surface. Then, there was a loud bang. The body of the white-haired old man exploded. An explosive airflow that was countless times more terrifying than the power of a nuclear explosion instantly spread out from the exploded body of the white-haired old man at a high speed, destroying everything along the way. Ye Yongsheng was the closest and was hit by the explosive airflow at the first time. The huge body like a mountain was instantly impacted and flew backwards like a kite with a broken string. Other city leaders who were a little further away also couldn't withstand the impact and flew backwards. The city below was not spared either. Countless creatures were affected and were bleeding from all 7 orifices and seriously injured. Some creatures with lower biological levels were even shattered alive, losing their vitality and becoming a lifeless corpse, forever remaining on this dilapidated battlefield. Lin Zichen, who was far away, felt the impact of this powerful energy and teleported to Shen Qinghan in the first place, using his body to protect her body. About 10 seconds later, the shock wave generated by the self-explosion of the white-haired old man slowly subsided. Lin Zichen looked up and looked around. The scene that came into view was either a ruin or corpses everywhere. The scene was extremely tragic. The self-explosion of a legendary creature was so powerful that it almost wiped the entire battlefield off the map and turned it into a void of ruins. Lin Ziai, what just happened? Shen Qinghan poked his head out of Lin Zichen's arms, looking at the horrible scene around him, feeling uneasy. Lin Zichen didn't rush to answer, but looked up at Ye Yongsheng in the sky. Seeing that the treacherous deputy state lord only had blood flowing from the corner of his mouth and suffered a minor injury, Lin Zichen's expression suddenly became solemn. The self-explosion of a legendary creature, at such a close distance, only caused such a little damage to Ye Yongsheng. Ye Yongsheng's strength is far more powerful than imagined. Thinking of this, Lin Zichen frowned unconsciously, feeling a little unsure. Before this, he had always believed that as long as he evolved to the legendary level, he would have a chance to cooperate with the leaders in the city to take down Ye Yongsheng. Now it seems that he was a little too optimistic before. If he wants to take down Ye Yongsheng, he has to continue to devour and evolve further. With this idea, Lin Zichen let go of Shen Qinghan in his arms and rushed to other places in the city. The self-explosion of the white-haired old man just now killed many creatures in the city. Indiscriminate attack. Whether it is the same race or a different race, as long as the biological level is slightly lower and the distance is too close, it is basically killed on the spot. Kill 1000 enemies and lose 800 of your own. The most fatal thing is that the enemy you want to kill was not killed at all. All the ones killed were insignificant shrimp soldiers and crab generals. This self-explosion can be said to be in vain. The only benefit is that there are a large number of alien corpses on the battlefield, which is convenient for Lin Zichen to devour. You devoured a large amount of the life essence of the cat salamander monster and gained the biological attribute, Advanced Sensitivity. Advanced Sensitivity, your 5 senses are greatly improved. You devoured a large amount of the source power of the self-cat salamander monster, and the source power was converted into blood and spirit. The strength of your blood and spirit has been improved to a certain extent. You devoured a large amount of the life essence of the void vine snake and gained the biological attribute, Advanced Concealment. Advanced Concealment, you can perfectly blend into any environment to avoid the enemy. Lin Zichen did not waste time and quickly wandered around the battlefield devouring the corpses of aliens, absorbing the source power in the corpses to improve the progress of evolution. On the other side, Ye Yongsheng looked up at the center of the white-haired old man's self-explosion, and felt a lingering fear. If he had not hardened his whole body in time, he would have been seriously injured by the power generated by the white-haired old man's self-explosion. Zhongqing, I didn't expect you to be able to do this. For the future of the human race, you are willing to sacrifice your life. It's a pity that you died in vain. Your self-explosion didn't hurt me at all. Ye Yongsheng raised the corner of his mouth, his expression was full of playfulness. After mocking the dead white-haired old man, he quickly set his sights on Lin Zichen in the distance, his eyes revealing a hint of fanaticism. Lin Zichen's body has too many incredible abilities, and it is an undisputed mythical figure. As long as you can get Lin Zichen's body, it is just a matter of time to prove the mythical creature. Your body is very strong, but it will soon be mine. Ye Yongsheng muttered, and then his body turned into a residual image, rushing towards Lin Zichen who was devouring the corpse on the ground at the fastest speed. Seeing this, the city leaders behind him didn't care about treating the internal injuries that had just been shaken by the self-explosion of the white-haired old man, and immediately chased after him one after another. They all saw Lin Zichen's rapid evolution and knew the importance of Lin Zichen. If nothing unexpected happens, Lin Zichen will be the future of the human race. Therefore, at this moment, they must do their best to protect Lin Zichen. Even if it means self-destruction. Ground. Lin Zichen devoured the bodies of alien races frantically. The speed of devouring was comparable to that of locusts passing through. In just a moment, the bodies of alien races on the ground were devoured completely. When he devoured the body of a wood elf, a text prompt message slowly emerged from the void deep in his mind. Your biological level has successfully evolved from Legendary Level 1 to Legendary Level 2 /. Chapter 296 Ye Yongsheng? Knocked away with one punch. After saying that they wanted to work together to deal with Ye Yongsheng. With a thought, Lin Zichen activated the biological attribute Fire Breath, instantly igniting the entire sea under his feet. The ocean beneath your feet contains rich source power, providing a steady stream of fuel for the crimson flames. The flames burned brighter and brighter. In an instant it intensified into a sea of fire. Emits extremely high temperatures. It was so hot that even the air would evaporate. Lin Zichen possesses the biological attribute of rebirth from the fire. As long as he is in a flame environment, he can be resurrected indefinitely, greatly improving the error tolerance rate. Now that he was in a sea of fire, he felt safe. Other side. Ye Yongsheng and all the city leaders were a little confused. I don't understand what Lin Zichen is doing. Okay, why did you set the entire sea on fire for no reason? However, these are not the point. The point is, how did Lin Zichen ignite the entire sea instantly? He is obviously a pure-blood human and does not have any alien genes in his body. How did he have so many incredible abilities? At this moment, not only did Ye Yongsheng's eyes look at Lin Zichen full of greed, but even some of the leaders in the city had uncontrollable evil thoughts. Lin Zichen's body is too magical. If you can dissect his body and understand the reason why his body is special, you might be able to find a new direction on the evolutionary road that is about to come to an end. Legendary level and mythical level, this is the biological level with the most disparity. Legendary creatures have a lifespan limit. But there are no mythical creatures. Being able to evolve into a mythical creature is a fatal temptation for any legendary creature. The temptation is so great that it can challenge human nature. Calm down your mind a little. Ye Yongsheng looked at the sea of fire below, and with a thought, he used a lot of mental power to extinguish the flames. Although he didn't know Lin Zichen's purpose of lighting up the entire sea, he thought that this must have some unknown benefits for Lin Zichen. Otherwise, Lin Zichen wouldn't do this. For this reason, there is nothing wrong with putting out the fire as quickly as possible. However, the red fire burning on the sea is far more difficult to deal with than imagined. Whether it is cutting off the air or pulling away the sea water on the surface, the red flame is still burning without any signs of weakening or extinguishing. Ye Yongsheng frowned slightly at this. What's going on? Why can't this fire be put out? Ye Yongsheng was puzzled. He couldn't understand why he, who was only one step away from the mythical level, couldn't extinguish the fire set by Lin Zichen, a newly promoted legendary creature. Also, when chasing Lin Zichen earlier, his speed was not much faster than Lin Zichen's. There has been a long distance between them. There is no hope of catching up in the short term. If Lin Zichen hadn't stopped on his own, it would have taken him a while to catch up. Logically speaking, with such a huge gap in biological levels between the two sides, they should be able to catch up in an instant. I haven't been able to catch up even after chasing him for so long. It doesn't make sense. What is so special about Lin Zichen's body that makes him incredibly powerful? With this doubt, Ye Yongsheng looked at Lin Zichen expressionlessly and said in a calm voice. Classmate Lin, your body really has so many incredible abilities. Every ability taken individually has a mythical appearance. Given time, we will surely be able to prove mythical creatures and become the hope of the human race. However, you are still too young and don't have enough understanding of evolution. With a body like this, it's difficult for you to reach your full potential. Give your body to me. I will develop your body to the extreme for you. I will become the hope of the human race for you. This man deserves to be raped. Before Lin Zichen could respond, a city leader with a bald head yelled at Ye Yongsheng with anger on his face. Ye Yongsheng heard the curse, but chose to ignore it, focusing entirely on Lin Zichen. Although these former subordinates around them are all legendary creatures, they all sacrificed their blood essence to greatly increase their strength. However, for Ye Yongsheng, who has completely transformed into a strange beast, they are still just a group of ants. There is no need to care at all, just pretend that they don't exist. As long as you are strong enough, you can be arrogant. What do you mean by giving my body to you? Lin Zichen looked at Ye Yongsheng in front of him, and while frantically mobilizing the blood and spirit in his body, he asked him calmly. Ye Yongsheng said with a calm expression, there is no need to explain. The moment he finished speaking, his figure flashed and his entire body disappeared from the spot. When he appeared again, he was already in front of Lin Zichen, very close at hand. So fast. Lin Zichen was shocked. He didn't expect that Ye Yongsheng, who was so huge, could be so fast. It was so fast that he had no time to react. Buzz. Just heard a sharp sound breaking through the air. Ye Yongsheng waved his huge fist, and with endless energy and blood, he punched Lin Zichen in the head. This punch that looked like it could destroy the world, he only used the legendary 5th level strength. The purpose was to test Lin Zichen's strength, not to severely injure Lin Zichen. He was worried that if he punched with all his strength, Lin Zichen would be beaten into a ball of blood mist and die directly. This was not the result he wanted to see. What he wanted was to seize Lin Zichen's body. Therefore, it is necessary to ensure the integrity of Lin Zichen's physical body as much as possible. It would be best to use mental attacks to destroy Lin Zichen's will. This way his body will not be damaged. But before that, he had to properly test the strength of Lin Zichen's physical body, and get to know in advance the mythical body that he was about to take away. Buzz. As the fist continued to get closer, the sound of breaking through the air became louder and louder. Lin Zichen originally wanted to hide, but after feeling it, he found that Ye Yongsheng's punch seemed not as powerful as imagined. Therefore, he simply did not dodge, and directly attacked it with the vast power of qi and blood. Soon. Just listen to a loud boom. Two fists filled with energy and blood collided with each other with a powerful energy. In an instant, a terrifying shock wave suddenly spread from between the two people to the surroundings. Wherever the shock wave passes, large cobweb cracks were directly shaken out of the air. Extremely powerful. It was so powerful that even several city leaders not far away were knocked away, leaving them completely disgraced. The majestic legendary powerhouse was actually knocked away by the aftermath of a confrontation between a 20-year-old young man and others. This was a huge humiliation. This terrifying shock wave only lasted for less than a few seconds before completely dissipating. The moment the shock wave dissipates, a huge figure flew backwards at high speed. Sparks were electrified all the way in the sky 10,000 meters high, tearing countless cracks in the void along the way. The city leaders present immediately looked at the figure flying backwards. When they saw the figure's appearance clearly, they all looked shocked and their eyes were full of disbelief. The person who flew out was actually Ye Yongsheng? What's going on? How did Lin Zichen do it? The punch that Ye Yongsheng just fired was far more powerful than the legendary low-level punch. Most of the people present couldn't bear it. However, Lin Zichen was not only able to withstand it, he could even blow Ye Yongsheng away. Such an exaggerated leapfrog challenge left the leaders in the city puzzled and agitated in their hearts. P.S. Divided into 2 chapters, the next chapter will be updated around noon tomorrow. End of chapter. Chapter 297 Everyone self-destructs. Sacrifice for the human race. 1,000 meters. 2,000 meters. 3,000 meters. 4,000 meters. 4,396 meters. Ye Yongsheng flew backwards for thousands of meters before he managed to stabilize his body and hover in the air. The power of Lin Zichen's punch just now was far beyond his imagination. Far beyond the 5th level of legend. Already at the level of high-level legend. Just evolved to the legendary level, and can burst out the power of high-level legend. Is this really a human? Ye Yongsheng looked at Lin Zichen who had just punched him from a distance of thousands of meters, his face full of horror. He knew that Lin Zichen was different from ordinary people and could easily kill the enemy across levels. Therefore, the punch he just made was enough to give face, and the power was as high as the 5th level of legend. This punch was enough to seriously injure or even kill any city leader present. However, even such a powerful punch was knocked away by Lin Zichen in the fight with him just now. Ye Yongsheng originally thought that he had overestimated Lin Zichen by punching out a legendary 5th level punch. Unexpectedly, Lin Zichen's strength was beyond his imagination. Although he had just evolved into a legendary creature, his strength was actually at the level of a high-level legendary creature. This made people feel that he was no longer an earthling. Even, he could not be called a human. Because even the indigenous human race of the source land, the aliens, had never seen such an exaggerated performance as Lin Zichen. Buzz. A rapid sound of breaking through the air exploded. Lin Zichen's blood and chi burst out all over his body, and he took the initiative to kill Ye Yongsheng. The city leaders who were still shocked around him came to their senses when they saw this, and followed the blood and chi burst out and killed Ye Yongsheng together. The original idea of these city leaders was to sacrifice their lives to delay Ye Yongsheng as much as possible, so that Lin Zichen would have a chance to escape. But at this moment, seeing Lin Zichen's powerful strength, their thoughts have completely changed. The idea in their hearts is no longer to hold Ye Yongsheng back to give Lin Zichen a chance to escape, but to assist Lin Zichen in killing Ye Yongsheng, the traitor. A traitor at the level of a deputy state lord is too threatening to the human race if he stays in this world. Now there is a chance to get rid of him directly, so we must try. Buzz. 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 A burst of air-breaking sound resounded throughout the sky. With Lin Zichen as the leader and nearly 10 city leaders as the assistant, they all turned into a stream of light and rushed towards Ye Yongsheng thousands of meters away at a high speed. Seeing this, Ye Yongsheng's eyes became sharp in an instant. This time, he dared not underestimate the enemy again. He burst out his blood spirit at the first time and raised his strength to the highest level. Although he is arrogant, he does not take creatures with a level lower than the mythical level into consideration. However, this does not mean that he will ignore risks because of his arrogance. When the situation has certain risks, he will immediately enter a state of absolute concentration. Boom! A huge amount of blood and chi was constantly dispersing, rubbing against each other in the air, creating a roar that resounded throughout the sky. As the roar sounded, Lin Zichen, whose body was wrapped in the power of blood and chi, instantly rushed to Ye Yongsheng from a distance of thousands of meters away. Then, with a huge amount of blood and chi, he raised his hand and punched Ye Yongsheng in front of him. The moment the fist was thrown, the vast blood and chi turned into a red dragon, accompanied by bursts of deafening dragon roars, and rushed towards Ye Yongsheng with earth-shaking momentum. Facing such a terrifying punch, Ye Yongsheng had no intention of dodging. He chose to gather most of the blood and chi in his body into his fist, and punched it out with the force of thunder, and once again fought with Lin Zichen. This time, the power of his punch reached the 7th level of legend. Soon, there was a loud bang. Lin Zichen's fist and Ye Yongsheng's fist collided violently, and at the same time as a loud bang, a terrifying aftermath spread out instantly. Wherever the aftermath passed, the air was directly shaken into a shocking net, full of cracks. During this period, the city leaders who followed Lin Zichen closely were all blown away by the aftermath before they had time to make a move, like ants without any resistance. On ordinary days, they are all legendary strongmen who are high above and look down on the world. But at this moment, in the strong duel between Lin Zichen and Ye Yongsheng, they don't even have the qualifications to participate in the battle. They can only be blown away by the terrifying aftermath generated by the two fists, serving as a foil to prove the high intensity of this duel. Boom! 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 The sound of the bombardment continued one after another. With the blessing of a large number of biological attributes, Lin Zichen punched out with a punch force far beyond his own biological level, punch after punch against Ye Yongsheng, whose biological level was as high as the legendary 9th level, and he was not at all inferior. Ye Yongsheng only used the strength of the legendary 7th level to fight at the beginning, but after a few punches, he found that even if his punch force was increased to the legendary 7th level, he was still no match for Lin Zichen. Ye Yongsheng was shocked and excited about this. This body is too powerful. It is completely the myth of the body becoming holy. Seize the body. I must seize the body of this body. No one can stop me from seizing the body. With this excitement, Ye Yongsheng gradually increased the punch force to measure the upper limit of Lin Zichen's body. Legendary 7th level. Legendary 7th level perfection. Legendary 8th level. Legendary 8th level great perfection. Until the fist power increased to the level of the legendary 8th level great perfection, Ye Yongsheng gradually gained the upper hand and beat Lin Zichen to the point where he could not resist. Crack! 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 Amid the deafening sound of the collision, tiny cracks of hard objects sounded quietly. In the collision of fists, cracks began to appear on Lin Zichen's finger bones, and then they were so serious that they broke, so that the whole fist was deformed and a large blood mist burst out. If this continued, the wrist, arm, and even the shoulder would explode into blood mist. For this scene, Lin Zichen did not retreat at all and continued to fight with Ye Yongsheng. It was just that during the collision, he consumed his mental power crazily to activate his self-healing biological properties and continuously repair the damage on his body. Unfortunately, no matter how fast his body healed, it was still too simple to resist the damage caused by Ye Yongsheng's attack. When the fight reached nearly 100,000 punches, boom! A terrifying sound of fighting suddenly exploded. Then, Lin Zichen flew backwards at a high speed, bleeding from all 7 orifices, dislocation of 5 abdominal organs, and suffered extremely serious internal injuries, and lost most of his combat power in an instant. Not far away, the city leaders who had been unable to intervene all looked desperate. Lin Zichen was incredibly powerful, but he was still too young after all. He did not have enough time to evolve and could not compete with Ye Yongsheng, who had evolved for hundreds or thousands of years. Self-explode, blow him up, and give Lin Zichen a chance to survive. A woman with a shawl on her shoulders shouted to her colleagues around her with a firm look in her eyes, and then her blood and chi suddenly burst out, turning into a beam of blood-red light, and rushed towards Ye Yongsheng alone at the fastest speed. Seeing this, several city leaders did not hesitate for a moment and immediately mobilized their blood and chi to kill Ye Yongsheng. They all have to sacrifice their small self to complete their big self, and use the last rays of their life to injure Ye Yongsheng as much as possible, and create a chance for Lin Zichen to escape. Even, a chance to kill him with a higher level. As long as Lin Zichen can survive, the human race still has hope of turning the tide. P.S. Put the bowl on the table, and ask for monthly votes and recommendation votes. End of this chapter. Chapter 298 The Final Battle. After knocking Lin Zichen away with a punch, Ye Yongsheng finally measured Lin Zichen's upper limit. The second-level body of the legend can exert the strength between the 8th level and the 8th level perfection of the legend. The span is so large that it is as high as 6 levels. It is really a coveted body. This body will be mine soon. With this excited mood, Ye Yongsheng burst out his blood and spirit, and chased Lin Zichen who was flying backwards at the fastest speed. The upper limit of Lin Zichen's body has been tested. Now, he wants to use spiritual means to erase Lin Zichen's will from the body, and then his will take over Lin Zichen's body. Buzz. 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 Several rapid sounds of breaking through the air suddenly sounded. Several people, led by a woman with a shawl, flew in front of Ye Yongsheng to block his way and prevent him from chasing Lin Zichen. Seeing this, Ye Yongsheng showed disdain on his face. A bunch of ants who don't know their own strength, all of you should disappear. After saying this, he swung his huge wings violently. The next second, a large black airflow appeared out of thin air in front of him, sweeping towards the people who blocked his way with a destructive force. Faced with this fatal attack, the woman with disheveled shawl had no intention of hiding at all, and stood still with a firm look in her eyes. When the blood and chi rushed to her and she was closest to Ye Yongsheng, the woman with disheveled shawl shouted to the people behind her. Explode now! The moment the voice fell, the woman's body expanded rapidly, stretching her skin to crack into countless shocking cracks, leaking a large amount of vast and majestic blood and chi. Then the next second, there was a loud bang. The woman's body exploded completely, turning into a terrifying energy that spread rapidly, indiscriminately attacking everything within the explosion range, shaking the air into a net. Almost at the same time, the people behind the woman also blew themselves up. Boom! 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 A series of sounds like nuclear explosions rang out one after another, shaking the entire southern region. The huge noise that erupted during the period, accompanied by strange phenomena all over the sky, seemed to have ushered in an unprecedented doomsday, shrouding all creatures in the southern region in panic. On the other side, Lin Zichen, who had just been punched tens of thousands of meters away by Ye Yongsheng, finally hovered with difficulty. At this time, he was bleeding from all 7 orifices, his soul was turbulent, and he was seriously injured. If it were an ordinary legendary creature, it would take several years to recover from such serious injuries without external intervention. Fortunately, his physique is quite special and has various self-healing biological properties. But in a moment, the injuries on his body had completely healed themselves, and he was restored to his original state, without any signs of injury. He stabilized his body slightly. With the blessing of Eye of the Sky and Danger Sense, Lin Zichen looked at the direction of Ye Yongsheng from a distance of tens of thousands of meters. Subscribe to Chinese Novel Audio Wave. Then, the scene that came into his eyes was an extremely dilapidated picture. The air exploded, and there was smoke and dust everywhere. The energy in it was chaotic and abnormally unstable. It felt like a thundercloud, and violent energy fluctuations could occur at any time. This was the residual power left by the simultaneous self-explosion of several legendary masters just now. It still contained terrifying energy, so terrifying that Lin Zichen, who was tens of thousands of meters away, felt terrified. The simultaneous self-explosion of several legendary masters is really terrifying, but I don't know how much damage this can cause to Ye Yongsheng. Lin Zichen murmured in his heart while carefully observing the situation on Ye Yongsheng's side. However, the energy fluctuations there are too large now. Even if he has the blessing of Eye of the Sky and Danger Sense, he can't see or sense anything. For safety reasons, Lin Zichen did not choose to approach immediately. Instead, his blood and spirit burst out, and he flew towards the surviving city leaders. The self-explosion just now sacrificed more than half of the city leaders. Now there are only 4 city leaders alive. The biological levels, from high to low, are Legendary Level 3, Legendary Level 2, Legendary Level 1 Great Perfection, and Legendary Level 1. These 4 city leaders are relatively cherishing their lives and did not self-explode together. Lin Zichen can understand this approach. If it were him, he would probably not self-explode. He would probably choose to save himself first and keep his life to protect his family. Student Lin, are you seriously injured? As soon as Lin Zichen landed beside the 4 city leaders, one of the city leaders asked with concern. One person asked, and the other 3 looked at Lin Zichen. Lin Zichen's state determines the trend of the next encirclement and suppression of Yangsheng. If Lin Zichen was seriously injured and in a bad condition, then there was no need for the 4 of them to stay here and die. Unless Yangsheng, who had endured the self-explosion of several legendary masters, was more seriously injured than Lin Zichen. Facing the concern of several people, Lin Zichen said calmly, "It has completely healed." Completely healed. The city leader who had just expressed his concern saw Lin Zichen say this calmly, and his face suddenly showed disbelief. He had seen Yangshen's punch before and felt the power of the punch. It is no exaggeration to say that the power of that punch is enough to turn a legendary mid-level or even legendary 7th level warrior into a bloody mist. But even with such a powerful punch, Lin Zichen not only took it hard, but also remained intact afterwards. How strong a body must one have to be able to do this? At least the level of legendary 8th level. Thinking of this, the leader was shocked beyond words, and at the same time, he felt excited. Lin Zichen has this strength, and Yangsheng just suffered a few legendary strongmen's self-explosions, and his body is likely to be severely injured. This back and forth greatly increases the chances of winning. Killing Yangsheng is no longer a low probability event. If Yangsheng is seriously injured, he may be killed without injury. Lin Zichen noticed that the expressions on the faces of the 4 city leaders beside him were much more relaxed, and he probably guessed what they were thinking. However, he didn't care about it at all, and all his attention was on the energy fluctuation area in front. About 10 seconds passed. The energy in that area gradually stabilized. At the same time, with the blessing of Eye of the Sky and Danger Sense, Lin Zichen began to sense the specific situation of that area. In the center of the area, he saw a figure with blood and qi constantly overflowing. Looking closely, it was Yangsheng. At this time, Yangsheng was no longer as high and mighty as before. His whole body was in tatters, and his aura had declined a lot. Seeing this, Lin Zichen immediately consumed his mental power to strengthen the effect of the biological attribute Danger Sense and peeked at Yangsheng's current biological information. The next moment, the biological information about Yangsheng at this moment quickly emerged in the void. Qi and blood strength. Legendary 8th level. Mental strength. Legendary 8th level. Alien genes. Activation degree 100%. Other biological information. Lin Zichen quickly read the biological information in the void. When he saw that Yangsheng's blood and mental strength had declined to the legendary 8th level, he was immediately refreshed. Legendary 8th level. This treacherous deputy state lord is only at the 8th level of legend. I can definitely deal with him alone. P.S. Putting out polls, asking for monthly votes and recommendation votes. End of this chapter. Chapter 299, Fighting Against Mythical Creatures. Lin Zichen was excited when he sensed that Yangsheng was seriously injured and his strength had dropped. Just as he was thinking about the next strategy, whether to fight quickly and decisively with all his strength or to fight steadily and circling around. Buzz. An explosive sound of breaking through the air sounded. At the moment the sound fell. Yangsheng, who was just hovering in front of him with an embarrassed look on his face, flashed through the void and appeared behind Lin Zichen in the next second. So fast. Lin Zichen's heart sank, and his nerves were tense in an instant. He didn't expect that Yangsheng, who was seriously injured, could still burst out at such a fast speed. When he was shocked, he had an idea, and his whole body of blood and spirit burst to the maximum limit, sprinting forward at the fastest speed to distance himself from Yangsheng who appeared behind him instantly. Before he rushed out far, he sensed a very terrifying energy fluctuation coming from behind him. It was expected that there would be energy fluctuations. But what surprised him was that the energy fluctuations coming from behind him were not directed at him. At this moment, he realized something. Yangsheng's target was not him, but the 4 city leaders behind him. Those 4 city leaders were at risk of Yangsheng sacrificing his life and exploding. Realizing this, Lin Zichen immediately turned around and rushed to Yangsheng behind him to stop Yangsheng from dealing with the 4 city leaders. Unfortunately, everything was too late, too late. Before Lin Zichen could completely turn around, Yangsheng had already opened a hideous bloody mouth on his chest, cruelly swallowed the 4 city leaders, crushed them into flesh and blood, and devoured them. From beginning to end, the 4 city leaders were not even able to scream, and were directly swallowed alive. After swallowing the 4 city leaders, Yangsheng's face was no longer as pale as before, and there was some blood color. But the strength of qi and blood and mental strength still remain at the legendary 8th level. Although he swallowed 4 legendary strongmen, the energy replenished for his powerful body was just a drop in the bucket and was not enough to restore his strength. At most, it could only make his physical condition better. Now, there are no more annoying flies that hinder me by self-destruction. Ye Yongsheng opened his bloodshot eyes and said with a creepy smile, or, if you have the courage, you can also choose to self-destruct. He was not afraid of Lin Zichen's self-destruction at all. Those city leaders who self-destructed before were basically old people who had reached the end of their evolutionary path and had little life left. They died and died. But Lin Zichen was different. This boy is only 20 years old this year, and he already has the strength of a high-level legend. The potential for evolution is immeasurable. If nothing unexpected happens, he will be able to evolve into a mythical creature with endless lifespan in the future. Such a brilliant evolutionary genius with a bright future would definitely not want to self-destruct and let his life come to an end. Why should I self-destruct? Lin Zichen looked directly at Ye Yongsheng and said in an unusually calm voice, before you were blown up, I might be 1 level behind you, but now you are seriously injured and your strength is damaged. It is not certain who will win. Hearing this, Ye Yongsheng couldn't help laughing, hee, young people are arrogant and don't understand the meaning of the word experience at all. To deal with a young man like you who is only 20 years old, let alone the difference in strength now, even if I am 1 level behind you, I can easily control you with my combat experience far beyond yours. Next, experience it well, what is the old ginger and the spicy? The moment the words fell, Ye Yongsheng flapped his huge wings fiercely, and his figure flashed in an instant, turning into a dark stream of light and attacking Lin Zichen in front. Lin Zichen was prepared for this. At the moment when Ye Yongsheng attacked at high speed, Lin Zichen's eyes condensed, and his blood and spirit burst out. The whole person turned into a red stream of light, and directly confronted Ye Yongsheng who was attacking at high speed, without any fear. Soon, there was a boom sound. The 2 streams of light collided fiercely, shaking the air violently, and bursting out with earth-shaking light and sound. Then, the 2 figures flew backwards at the same time, suffering varying degrees of serious injuries. Among them, Lin Zichen suffered a greater impact and flew backwards farther. The leaders of the city around him blew themselves up, and were swallowed up, and none of them were left. This made Lin Zichen's biological attribute gregarious animals lose its effect, causing Lin Zichen's strength to decline, just 1 step behind Ye Yongsheng. Therefore, in the previous bombardment, Lin Zichen flew backwards a farther distance. But the good news is that other biological attributes that could not cause effective damage to Ye Yongsheng before, such as lethal venom, hallucination, chaos, etc. After Ye Yongsheng was seriously injured, all of these began to take effect. On the other side, Ye Yongsheng, who had just finished fighting with Lin Zichen, was now full of negative states. Poisoning, hallucination, dizziness, paralysis, stiffness, etc. Under the superposition and weakening of these negative states, Ye Yongshen's strength is rapidly declining. The strength of his blood and spirit has dropped from the 8th level of legend to the 7th level of legend, and is sliding down to the 7th level of legend at a very fast speed. What's going on? Why do I have so many negative states? Is it caused by his attack? Ye Yongsheng stared at Lin Zichen in the distance, feeling the various negative states on his body, and a rare panic appeared in his heart. If these negative states on his body at this moment are really caused by Lin Zichen's attack, then it will be difficult to deal with it next. My current hard power has declined to the point where it is not as good as Lin Zichen. I can only rely on the combat experience accumulated over the years to make up for the gap, or even surpass him. But once Lin Zichen's attack can add negative states to the target, then my advantage in experience will become a drop in the bucket, not enough to make up for the gap in strength with Lin Zichen. Just as Ye Yongsheng was thinking. Buzz. A rapid sound of breaking through the air suddenly sounded. It was Lin Zichen who attacked again. After adjusting his state, Lin Zichen turned into a more dazzling red streamer than before, and rushed towards Ye Yongsheng with a crushing momentum. Ye Yongsheng wanted to hide, and didn't want to go head-on with Lin Zichen who was firing at full power. Unfortunately, his body was full of negative states at the moment, and his reaction speed and evasion speed were greatly reduced. He couldn't dodge Lin Zichen who was as fast as lightning. Helplessly, he could only give up dodging Lin Zichen's full-strength attack, and chose to block on the spot, and take on Lin Zichen's attack. The next moment, boom! The earth-shaking collision sounded again. Lin Zichen, with endless blood and energy, punched Ye Yongsheng fiercely. Ye Yongsheng put his hands together in front of his chest to block and took the punch. This time, Lin Zichen, who was in a better state, had an absolute advantage. With the overwhelming blood and energy, he directly punched Ye Yongsheng away. Boom! Another loud noise came. Ye Yongsheng, who was knocked out by a punch, hit the sea surface with a large area of red flames and sank to the bottom of the sea. During the sinking process, the various negative states on his body were rapidly deepened, The strength of his blood and spirit was declining at a very fast speed. In just a blink of an eye, he slipped to the 7th level of legend, then slipped to the 6th level of legend, and then took another step back to the 6th level of legend. He officially declined from a high-level legendary creature to a middle-level legendary creature. His strength was greatly reduced. He became a useless ant in his eyes in the past. It was actually caused by his attack. How did he do this? He is obviously a pure-blooded human with no alien genes in his body. How can he have so many special biological attributes? What secrets are hidden in his body? I must take over this body. As Ye Yongsheng sank to the bottom of the sea, he thought anxiously in his heart, his eyes full of desire. Lin Zichen's incredibly powerful body was a fatal temptation to him, making him obsessed with it and always wanting to take it for himself. Just when he was eagerly longing in his heart. Bang! A huge sound of breaking through the water exploded. Lin Zichen turned into a stream of red light, rushed into the seabed with boundless blood and energy, and dived rapidly along Ye Yongshen's breath. He wanted to take Ye Yongshen's life while he was sick, and not give this traitor a chance to recover, so as to avoid any unexpected situation. Ye Yongsheng, who had already dived for thousands of meters, sensed that Lin Zichen was diving rapidly to finish him off. In response, Ye Yongsheng smiled with a hint of unwillingness in his heart, "You forced me to do it." After thinking about it, he quickly tapped his chest 3 times with his hand. Each tap was accompanied by a small amount of blood and energy and mental power, as if activating something. The next moment after tapping 3 times, deep inside the huge heart that had mutated inside Ye Yongshen's body, a drop of blood essence that had been sealed for a long time quickly revived and became active again. This was a drop of blood essence from the mythical creature Night King. It was a reward given to him by Night King for his great merit in plotting to murder a legendary high-level strongman of the human race with a mythical appearance. It was the blood essence condensed by Night King himself. The creature that merged with this drop of blood essence can temporarily possess the strength of Night King. Possessing the strength of a mythical strongman. The price is that the changes that occurred in the body during the period may not be fully recovered afterwards. Moreover, there will be certain risks during the fusion. The flesh may not be able to withstand the powerful energy contained in the blood essence, causing the flesh to be directly broken. However, these risks are insignificant to Ye Yongsheng at this moment, as the blood essence of Night King was activated. Soon, the blood essence of Night King turned into a warm current, flowing through Ye Yongshen's body at a very fast speed, strengthening every cell in his body. Under the strengthening of the Night King's blood essence, Ye Yongsheng could clearly sense that his biological level was rapidly improving. Legendary level 6. Legendary level 7. Level 8. Level 9. Mythical level 1. In just a blink of an eye, Ye Yongshen's biological level evolved from legendary level 6 to the mythical level he had always dreamed of. The biological pressure emanating from his body was unprecedentedly powerful. Just floating motionlessly in the sea, he could automatically form a life-restricted area around him, excluding all life forms within the range. At the same time, all the negative states on his body disappeared. What was left was just the amazing energy that was so powerful that people could not extricate themselves from it. Is this the power of a mythical creature? Great, great! It is so powerful that it makes people fascinated. Ye Yongshen's face was full of gloomy smiles, and the aura he exuded was somewhat similar to that of the Night King, and became more and more similar as time went by. On the other side, Lin Zichen, who was diving at a very fast speed, immediately sensed that the aura emanating from Ye Yongsheng was so strong that it was a bit wrong, and danger sense kept jumping. Something is wrong. This man's state is very wrong. Don't get close to him. Lin Zichen was keenly aware of this and turned around and fled without saying a word. With the blessing of water creature attributes such as melting water luck, Lin Zichen's speed was as fast as a stream of light. In just a blink of an eye, he sneaked dozens of miles in the sea, and immediately distanced himself from Ye Yongsheng. Lin Zichen did not choose to break the water and go by land or air, but sneaked at high speed on the seabed the whole time. There are many obstacles on the seabed, and the energy is mixed, which will have a certain impact on perception, so it is more suitable for fleeing. Escape in vain. Ye Yongsheng muttered expressionlessly. Then, with the thought, his huge body instantly turned into a dark stream of light, and chased the fleeing Lin Zichen at a speed that was so fast that it could break through the void. Ahead. Lin Zichen sneaked very fast. His body almost dissolved in the water, moving at a speed of dozens of miles per second. Just when he thought he could escape smoothly, an energy body that was so powerful that it could make all creatures tremble suddenly appeared out of thin air not far behind him. Before he could react to what was going on, this energy body had already rushed above him, stretched out a huge beast claw and grabbed him fiercely. He instinctively wanted to hide. However, the speed of the beast's claws was too fast. As soon as he moved his body, the beast's claws had already grabbed him, tightly binding his body like handcuffs. Then, a terrifying upward pulling force suddenly broke out, carrying him to the sea surface. Boom! There was a sound that resounded through the sky. Ye Yongsheng, whose biological level soared to the mythical level and completely turned into an alien race, grabbed Lin Zichen with one claw and broke out of the water, hovering high in the air. Lin Zichen's blood and spirit burst out crazily, and his strength almost increased to the legendary 8th level. He wanted to break free from the restraint of Ye Yongshen's beast's claws. However, even so, he failed to break free. The mythical creature was too powerful, and a legendary creature could not resist it at all. Don't waste your energy. How can a mere legendary ant be so confident that he can break free from the shackles of a mythical creature? Ye Yongsheng looked at Lin Zichen in his hand, pinching him like an ant, with contempt in his eyes. P.S. Put the bowl on the table, and ask for monthly votes and recommendation votes. End of this chapter. Chapter 300, Deputy State Lord Ye Yongsheng dies. No. There is no way to break free. The gap in strength is too huge. What to do? What should I do now? Lin Zichen scanned the surrounding environment with a panic face, while his brain was running at high speed, eager to find a way to escape. At this moment, his whole body was held in the hands of the huge Ye Yongsheng, unable to move. If he couldn't escape in time, he would soon be taken over by Ye Yongsheng. The situation is critical. Under the blessing of heavenly wisdom root. Soon. Lin Zichen's eyes lit up and he thought of a way to escape. A daring way to get out. That is, self-destruction. The sea beneath his feet was still burning with red flames that could not be extinguished. On top of this sea of fire, if I choose to self-destruct and fall, then if nothing unexpected happens, I should be able to trigger the biological attribute rebirth from the fire. The resurrection point after rebirth from the ashes will most likely appear elsewhere, rather than in the hands of Ye Yongsheng, the treacherous deputy state leader. In this way, the purpose of escaping can be achieved. However, these are still just speculations and nothing is known yet. Because they have never tried it, no one knows whether they can rise from the ashes after self-destruction. Even if rebirth is possible, whether the rebirth point will be refreshed is a question. If it can be refreshed, where it will be refreshed becomes another question. Just when Lin Zichen was still hesitant to choose to self-destruct to escape, Ye Yongsheng, who was holding him with one hand, started to take action. I saw this traitorous deputy city lord conjuring a dark bead out of thin air in front of me with a thought. The beads are only as big as walnuts. The surface is smooth. There seemed to be a black hole hidden inside, which was extremely pitch black. The first time he saw this bead, Lin Zichen sensed extremely amazing spiritual power from it. The spiritual power contained in this bead is at least mythical. Is this a tool used to seize my body? Lin Zichen stared at the beads in front of him with a solemn expression on his face. Opposite. Ye Yongsheng, who conjured the beads, rarely said even a single word of nonsense. The moment the bead came out, he immediately poured his mental power into the bead in front of him and began to transfer his will. At the same time, he also began to withdraw the mental power from Lin Zichen's body through the air, stripping his will out and annihilating it into nothingness. Then, the dove occupied the magpie's nest and used his own will to occupy Lin Zichen's body. Pain. It hurts. It hurts. The severe pain caused when his mental power was withdrawn caused Lin Zichen's entire face to become distorted. It was a sharp pain that was worse than heartbreaking. Even though his biological level was as high as legendary, the pain was still too much to bear. However, the pain is secondary. The important thing is that the spiritual power in his body is being rapidly extracted. Soon, the body will be extracted into an empty shell and become a container for the body to be taken away. Realizing this, he immediately chose to self-destruct without any hesitation. His body was taken away, and he had no chance of survival. Self-destruction, there is still a glimmer of hope. This is a multiple-choice question with a definite answer, so there is no need to hesitate. As soon as the thought of self-destruction came to an end, Lin Zichen's body began to expand rapidly, and the energy and blood in his body was about to spurt out like a volcano erupting. Ye Yongsheng, who noticed this, quickly used his mental power to suppress it and prevent Lin Zichen from self-destructing. Under the mental suppression of a mythical powerhouse, the power of qi and blood that was about to burst out from Lin Zichen's body was instantly suppressed, unable to burst out and destroy himself. Oops. Seeing that his self-destruction was successfully stopped, Lin Zichen's expression changed drastically. If you cannot self-destruct, you cannot rise from the ashes. And if you can't resurrect from the ashes, you can't break away from Ye Yongshen's clutches, and the spiritual power deep in your mind will continue to be pulled away until your will completely disappears. In the end, he became an empty shell of flesh and blood without a soul, and was raped by the person in front of him, the deputy city lord. Self-explosion leads nowhere. Is there any other way to get out? You definitely can't do it on your own. Asking for help? Who can I turn to for help? Lin Zichen endured the severe pain of being forcibly separated from his mind, and his brain kept spinning at high speed, trying to figure out a way to escape. However, I couldn't think of any effective way to escape in a short period of time. Just when Lin Zichen's mental power was almost half withdrawn from his body and his will began to become a little blurry. Ah! Ya Yongsheng in front of him suddenly screamed with pain on his face and was forced to stop his mental withdrawal. Lin Zichen was stunned for a moment, not understanding what happened. But these are not the point. The point is that he has escaped from Ya Yongshen's mental suppression and can escape. Lin Zichen reacted and did not dare to waste a moment. Immediately his whole body's energy, blood, and spirit exploded, and he moved away from Ya Yongsheng as quickly as possible. The direction of escape is directly towards city number 1. We need to take Shen King Han, who is still in the city, away from this place of right and wrong. While escaping at high speed, Lin Zichen deliberately used some mental energy to observe Ya Yongshen's situation behind him. Look what happened to this man who raped the deputy city lord? Why did he suddenly let out a painful scream? As the mental power spreads to the rear. Soon, Lin Zichen clearly observed Ya Yongshen's current state, and his brows could not help but frown slightly. At this time, Ya Yongshen's body was growing a lot of fine hairs at a speed visible to the naked eye. His face, which originally had some human features, became more and more beastly. Who is in my body? Who is erasing my will? What is going on? Ya Yongsheng, who found that he was losing control of his body, was terrified and didn't understand what was going on. He stared at the black bead in front of him, suspecting that the bead was taking over his body. So, with this suspicion, he raised a huge beast claw with difficulty, sucked the bead in front of him into his hand, and squeezed it hard without hesitation. Crack! There was only such a crisp shattering sound. The black bead in Ya Yongshen's hand instantly shattered into a pool of powder. It slipped from his claws. It drifted away with the wind. The bead was broken, and the will was no longer lost. But what made Ya Yongsheng despair was that his current state did not tend to get better at all, and he still felt that he was invaded by an alien life form. What's going on? What on earth is going on? Who is taking over my body? Ya Yongshen's face was full of horror, and his eyes were full of despair. Not long ago, he was still taking over Lin Zichen's body. In just a blink of an eye, he became a body taken over by an unknown life form. This made him feel unacceptable. I didn't expect that I would be revived in the body of you, a traitor to the earth. Suddenly, a gloomy voice sounded faintly in the depths of Ya Yongshen's mind. The moment he heard the voice, Ya Yongsheng opened his eyes wide, his face full of disbelief. It was the voice of the Night King. It was the Night King who took over my body. Why? The Night King is a mythical strongman who is high above and looks down on the world. Why does he want to take over my body that is only legendary? Wait. Could it be that the mythical strongman who fell in the central region before was the Night King? At this moment, Ya Yongsheng understood everything. The Night King fell in the mythical battle in the central region, and he had merged a drop of the Night King's blood not long ago, which happened to be the carrier of the Night King's revival. Lord Night King! I am just a legendary ant. My body is the flesh and blood of a lowly human. My lowly body is not worthy of being a container for your will, which will tarnish your lofty status. Lin Zichen was just here, he just ran not far, you know how special his body is, only his body is worthy of your will. Ya Yongshen's voice was full of desire to survive. He didn't want his life to end like this. He wanted to evolve into a mythical creature. To gain endless lifespan. To make sure that there is no existence in the world that can threaten his life from now on. To live forever in this world. To live high and mighty. Faced with Ya Yongshen's humble begging, the Night King, who was rapidly recovering in Ya Yongshen's body, had no inner fluctuations throughout the whole process. After a long while, he said in an emotionless voice, "You are right, your body is indeed not worthy of carrying my will." Hearing this, Ya Yongsheng was overjoyed, and the despair on his face was instantly swept away. But before he was happy for long, the Night King in his body spoke again, "However, before taking over Lin Zichen's body, I have to take over your lowly body first." The moment the voice fell, the Night King, who was recovering, suddenly burst out with mental power. Before Ya Yongsheng could react, he instantly wiped out Ya Yongshen's will and completely occupied Ya Yongshen's body. What a rotten body! The Night King, who completely occupied Ya Yongshen's body, felt that his current body was only at the first level of mythology and would soon decline to the legendary level, and his eyes were full of disgust. After a little adaptation to this body, very quickly, the Night King thought and instantly released his spiritual power. The range was so large. It almost covered the entire southern region. This is the power of mythical creatures. It escaped so fast. It flew hundreds of miles in just a short moment. It's a pity that it's still too slow for me. The Night King looked at the direction of Lin Zichen as if he was looking at an ant, with a condescending look on his face. Like Ya Yongsheng, he regarded all creatures below the mythical level as ants. It's too bright. It's better to be darker. The Night King looked up at the bright sky, then raised his hand and snapped his fingers. When the sound rang out, the originally clear sky suddenly became dim. Most of the southern region was pulled into a silent darkness. This is the Night King's exclusive ability, Great Dark Sky. An exclusive ability that can instantly turn the sky within the perception range into a dark sky. A piece of sky hundreds of miles away. Lin Zichen was bursting with energy and spirit, rushing to city number 1 as fast as possible, wanting to take Shen Qinghan in the city to escape from this place of trouble. The enemy he had to face now was no longer Ye Yongsheng, whose biological level was still at the legendary level before. Instead, he was replaced by a mythical powerhouse from the southern territory, the Night King. Lin Zichen has a very clear understanding of himself. He knew very well that no matter how good he was at crossing levels and killing with force, he would never be able to defeat such a mythical powerhouse across a large section. Therefore, he decisively chose to escape without hesitation for a moment. What happens? Why is it dark? Lin Zichen was flying at high speed, and suddenly the whole sky became dark. Perception of the 5 senses is greatly suppressed. The range of perception shrinks again and again. Hiss. Suddenly, a powerful tearing sound sounded from the front. Lin Zichen, who heard the sound, immediately looked along the sound. Immediately, what caught his eyes was a huge crack with arcs flowing. The moment he saw this crack, his whole body became solemn and his brows furrowed tightly. He knew very well what it meant when a crack suddenly opened out of thin air. This means that there is a strong person stepping through the void. In this situation, in this place, except for the Night King who took Ye Yongshen's body to revive himself, there would be no second strong man capable of breaking through the void. Therefore, the strong man stepping through the void at this moment must be the Night King. Thinking of this, Lin Zichen quickly dived towards the sea below without any hesitation. Facing a mythical powerhouse, especially the Night King who has the power of the air, he will definitely die by traveling by land or air. The only possible way to escape is the waterway below. Bang! There was a deafening sound of water breaking and an explosion. Lin Zichen turned into a crimson stream of light and instantly crashed into the sea below, splashing large waves burning with crimson flames. As soon as he rushed into the sea, Lin Zichen immediately activated the biological attribute luck of melting water, completely integrated with the sea water, and sank to the bottomless seabed at the fastest speed. No matter how good he was at water, he was not confident that he could swim faster than the Night King in the sea. The biological level gap between the two sides is too big, and it cannot be made up by just being good at it. On the sea, the Night King slowly walked out of the crack, his expression relaxed and unhurried. You also know how to sink quickly to the bottom of the sea. I have to say, quite wise. Unfortunately, the gap in strength is too huge. No matter how wise you are, it will be in vain. The Night King looked at the ripples spreading on the sea below his feet, smiled, and then waved his big hand, tearing open a huge crack on his side with his bare hands. Then, with a calm look on his face, he raised his feet and stepped into the depths of the crack. Deep under the sea. With the blessing of various water creature attributes such as luck of melting water, Lin Zichen dived tens of thousands of meters in one go and was far away from the sea in an instant. Just when he thought he had dived so deep, he might be able to escape the Night King's pursuit. Hiss! A familiar voice sounded. The next second, a crack with a surface arc lingering appeared out of thin air in front of him. Then, the Night King, who had taken away Ye Yongshen's body, slowly walked out of the crack with a strong pressure. Subscribe to Chinese Novel Audio Wave. Thank you.